Welcome to the Leverage Hacker Podcast, a life-transforming podcast with your host, David Dom. Welcome to a world where the status quo is merely a starting point and conventionality a path left untraveled, a place where boundaries are pushed, minds are expanded, and new realities are shaped. We're all too familiar with the age-old paradigm of trading time for money. It's an arduous cycle that does more than just burn us out. It impacts our relationships, our health, our sense of fulfillment. It leaves our partners feeling neglected, our ambitions on the back burner, and our life just a series of monotonous transactions. But here's the game changer. With David, you'll learn how to play by new rules. Rules that challenge these norms, that maximize your efforts by applying leverage. You're not just working harder, you're working smarter. Welcome to the Leverage Hacker Podcast.
All right, my friends, David Dom here. I wanted to speak with you about what it takes, what's actually required in an exchange of money for a service, what's actually required. Because I'm going to share this with you. The whole goal of this podcast at this point is to share the journey with you. And so what's happening right now is when I need to clear my throat. Okay, what's happening right now is we're being presented with a lot of different new things. Not a lot of just different things. There's always been different things. These are different new things. And they have to do with automation and publishing and media and code, right? So they have to do with all these things, but each actual, let's call it a business. Each business center, if you will, that generates revenue and cash flow. Each one of those, there are activities that have to take place. I mean, nothing happens in a vacuum. I mean, you actually have to do things. You have to make moves. There has to be an engine behind everything. There definitely has to be leverage applied. So I'll give you a couple of examples, maybe even more. So right now I'm looking at publishing. I've published 2 books. I published one book through Amazon several years ago, about 6 years ago. And since then, I've literally updated that book like 3 different times, I think. So, and it ended up being a passion project. It was really great for me to write it at the time. It was healing. It was, it was great. And I had some different thoughts with it. Point is that as with anything, if it's not marketed, nothing sells. There's where that engine comes from, and traffic, if you will, or marketplace built in. So anyway, I said that because of publishing is one of the things I'm looking at doing again, because what I haven't done yet, and I definitely emphasize yet, is I haven't quite stepped into the Audible world. And I'll be transparent with you, when I was looking at doing an Audible version and or like an audio version of Living in the Pause, my first book, I believe I'm on tape somewhere doing the whole thing, but the quality wasn't what I wanted, and so I never pursued it any further. In addition to that, because I did it myself and I didn't like it, so I wanted another voice. And in addition to that, the cost, of actually hiring someone to narrate the book through ACX, which is Amazon, was even prohibitive at the time. It's $400 or $500. It's reasonably a thing. So technology is changing, so I'm looking at doing some more publishing. My point is, as I'm delving back into that publishing arena, there's different ways to look at it, and really, if it's a profit center, if it's a vehicle to help add to your empire and build out things and actually make money with it. It doesn't necessarily have to solve all the world's problems and even be considered helpful. See, here's the thing. I am used to, like, my first book was about healing and coming to terms with yourself, fighting your demons, dealing with your childhood, just really doing a bunch of work. I was going through a complete and total transformation at the time throughout a whole period of a year when I wrote that book. And so it was very cathartic. But if you're looking at doing this to make money, there's nothing wrong with making money. There's absolutely nothing wrong with making money. As a matter of fact, making the money makes you a better person if you are a good person. If you're an asshole, you're going to be an asshole with money. Simple as that. But the money, what I'm saying is the money is important. It's extremely important on the journey because it allows us to move about the cabin freely and basically continue to expand, build things that actually have an impact. And again, a lot of that's being done through code and media. And I just wanted to share an example with you. Right now, I'm working on what started out as a side hustle. It's still a side hustle, really. And the reason I say that is because I'm not spending all day, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week doing anything with it. I mean, literally, that we're talking about hours at a time here and there now. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time. And it's an Amazon thing, and it's literally made enough money now. It's making enough money to cover all my bills, which is fantastic. But I'll tell you, the process involved really is as simple as me shooting some little short videos on my phone and then uploading them to Amazon, basically. A storefront. I don't have to worry about any inventory. It's nothing about FBA. It has nothing to do with selling products in that regard. I don't have to touch anything. I literally have to upload media. Again, remember I said code and media. I upload some media to Amazon, which already has a built-in audience, and I make money. It's just that simple. And there's really not much else to it. Now, obviously, if you're going to want to look at the numbers, you're going to want to improve on what's going on, you can of course, be wise and apply some of the leverage hacks that I share for free into that. Okay, but you can find that at basically leveragehacker.com/training, I think, and you could just go to /university otherwise. But here's the thing: this is a simple process. Now, on the publishing side, it's still a matter of like data. You kind of have to know where you're going, and the way we know where we're going these days is we have software, and that literally software and robots. I mean, basically automation and AI and lots of different tools. We use that to determine that what we're doing is actually worth our time, because this is the point of trading time for money and kind of putting that away, because it's not even about that anymore. It's about creativity, and it's about how much you can actually do and how much you can learn, how much you can automate, and then how much you can actually make from your efforts. So another example is I use a piece of software with the Amazon deal just to see how many I'll have to do. It's a plug-in on my laptop. I just have to look at it, and then it tells me when I go to an Amazon product page, how many sales in the past 30 days or so that item is doing. Huge. I mean, I didn't have that for the first few months, so literally I was flying blind. So that's an example of software. So in the publishing arena, you also have to have software. You have to have a couple of pieces. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that expensive. None of it is, okay? But it's game changing in regard to you actually being able to see what the opportunity is. You could come up with all kinds of cool ideas to write about, but then when you run it through the governor, if you will, you run it through the system that proves everything out, there's going to be maybe 3 or 4 things that could be a moneymaker that you could consider moving forward with. But the rest of it, it could be 7 out of 10 are not going to be good. Maybe 3 might be, just as an example. So that process, and then, right, once you just determine that, you start going through the process, and that would be you writing the book, writing the print version, having it formatted, and then in this case, getting the audio version done as well, getting that narrated, and then you'd have both. It is a process. There are shortcuts, and there are obviously, ways to make it happen. I've done it. I published a book. I published 2 books. The other one I did not do on Amazon, and I didn't promote it as much because I changed directions when I was doing. But the publishing angle, I'm talking about literally determining, if something could actually make you money. Now, again, what stopped me before, because it could cost you, 2 or 3 grand to go about getting everything done. A lot of times, because literally part of the process from some guys that I had bought a course from is just like a ghostwriter, completely and totally hire a ghostwriter. And I'm just going to tell you, I'll give you a little peek because I haven't even gone down the path very far, but I have a new assistant. I actually have as many as I want. I can even name them, and I can give them, choose a voice for them, and they could have their own personality. And it's through chat, basically GPT-4. You literally can have an assistant, but just consider an assistant that knows everything. Pretty cool. So you can publish, you could literally, instead of hiring a ghostwriter, you could put some of your own ideas into the project and then use GPT-4 and some of the other things. I think that's probably enough. GPT-4 can help you with your outline and then with your chapters, some content foundation stuff for you to work off of. You literally could do it all yourself now. And in addition to that, it's possible that you could actually upload that PDF of your finished product and then have a voice read it for you. And this voice would be basically an AI, and it would read everything for you, and you'd have an audio book then that you could then submit to Amazon. And submitting the book to Amazon, once you follow the steps, is free. The cost is the production. Just like the cost for the print version is getting a book cover done and get it laid out properly to where it prints well, it looks good, all that good stuff. So there's steps, right? But I've just been explaining for a while now some things that I'm considering, and you see how much work is involved. It is work, but I'm definitely gonna move down the path. But I'm working on 2 other projects right now. One of them, within 4 months, created an opportunity for me to have my bills paid. And I'm just saying that because that is the ultimate freedom. And Naval Ravikant said, it's not about being free to do things, it's about being free from things, which really stuck with me. Free from having to be at a certain place at a certain time, even if you didn't feel like it. That's the freedom I'm referring to. And then also freedom to think and create, and it's crazy. I feel like I've been working my whole life to get to this place where it's, and I hate to use the word passive, but basically there's no way you can ever 10x anything by working harder. And I'll just continue to beat that drum. Who knows, maybe on every episode, because you can't. Imagine whatever you're doing for money right now. How could you even 2x it? How could you even double it? Work harder, work twice as hard. That's as far as you can go. That's it. You're done. But you could 10x something if you apply leverage. And the leverage that I'm applying, for example, in the Amazon deal is literally free. I'm free to create media. And so there's no cost there except my time. So then you have to say, well, how much time? So you weigh all those things out, right? Same thing with the publishing, okay? How long is this going to take? What's this going to do for me? How much of this can I do myself so that I don't have to spend $2 or $3 grand that I really may not even have, right? I don't have it. That's what kind of held me up before. And I just believe now that I have the ability to get most of it done with a little bit of ingenuity and creativity myself, with the assistance of technology. So I'm going to wrap this up. I just wanted to kind of, again, this episode was really about just, coming to terms with the fact that there is an input and an output. The difference is, and the difference of the having leverage and not having leverage, is the output can be way, way, way more than the input. So if I spend 10 minutes or 15 minutes even, recording a cool video, editing it, putting it all together, which is not even required, by the way. But if I did that and edited it down to, say, 2 minutes and uploaded it, how much time could that have possibly taken? But who cares? What if it was 30 minutes? It's still something that, that ends up paying me potentially for indefinitely, but definitely in the short term. So there's effort involved with every project. So I'm going to be covering a lot because I'm on a journey, and but we'll just leave it at that. You want to consider what you can do that has leverage applied, so that your input could 10x whatever effort it is. Or if you were thinking, well, I can only do X because I'm just one person. Well, if you apply leverage and technology to what you're doing, then that same input could 10x and possibly even 100x or more. That's where the crazy stuff happens. But that's it. Looking forward to talking to you more. Peace.
As we close this vibrant chapter of the Leverage Hacker podcast, remember, you're the author of your own life story. The struggles, the triumphs, they're all yours to claim. It's time to step back into your world, but with a transformed outlook. Remember, the matrix is an illusion. The true power resides in you. Go out there, live life on your terms, and continue to color outside the lines. Until next time.